back to Seed Time and Harvest. I have an exciting video I want to share with you today, and it's all about dehydrating. Now, we have looked at two forms of food preservation. We've looked at the Mylar bag, and we've looked at pressure canning and water bath canning. Now we're going to talk about one of my favorite methods, dehydration. Why? Well, dehydration has been going on since forever. This is one of the oldest forms of food storage where people use the sun. I mean, I did it, my grandparents did it, my great-grandparents did it. Use the sun to dry food, and in modern times now we have different devices that can help us along our journey to preserve food using the dehydration method. Whether you want to preserve an overabundance of food items that you're growing, or you may be interested in making kale chips, fruit roll-ups, you may want to do get everything out of your freezer, putting into a shelf. Dehydration is the method for you. It's very simple, it's very easy. I mean, you can do it while you're sleeping. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to dehydrate, different types of dehydrators on the market, what to look for when you get your dehydrator, because I want you to get one so that you can join me in building my dehydration food pantry. So let's get into it. There are so many different brands of dehydrators on the market. You have the Instant Omni, you have Presto, you have Nesco, you have the Excalibur, you have the Casori, Black & Decker, you name it. But what do I look for in a dehydrator that's cost effective in terms of preserving the items that I need, and even in terms of the space? Do I have space to put this machine or another machine? We're going to get into all the details so that you can make an educated decision when you go out to purchase yours. So I've talked about several different types of dehydrator. I'm going to talk about the one that I want to get but I don't have, and that's the Casori. I've heard a lot of good things about the Casori. Even the price range is not that way off. Just to start with, it is a stainless steel variety, and that's one of the reasons why I want to get it, because this is a more flimsy plastic. This one is a harder plastic, but the Casori is completely stainless steel. Even the trays are stainless steel. It has a digital timer. It has a 48-hour shut-off. It's as quiet as a whisper. And that's another motivation towards getting it, because I have children that dehydrate through the night, and to be able to have a quiet dehydrator will be a plus. It has a temperature range from 95 degrees Fahrenheit to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can dehydrate a wide variety of items with that machine. The disadvantage, in my opinion, it has a max of 6 trays, which is a good size, but relatively small considering that I like to dehydrate in bulk. Now, with 6 trays, yeah, you can do a good amount, but you have to, that machine will do a lot of work if it's in my home. It does have a horizontal fan, and it is a cabinet variety. It has a glass door. Cabinet variety means, you know, it sits, you can't add any more trays to it. So the 6 is the max that you are gonna get. The glass door allows you to look inside during the drying process, and with the fan being horizontal, everything dehydrates uniformly. Okay, so that's all I have to say about the Casori. You can look more into it and see if that will be a good fit for your budget. The next one I want to talk about is the Nesco. This is my longest machine that I've been, my baby. It's been with me for about 10 years. It still works. It's still a good machine, and I really like it. I just added the Excalibur. I love how it runs, but I find that I always go back to the Nesco. Why I like Nesco, it has a temperature range from 95 to 160 degrees. It has been doing me well over the years, and the most important thing for me is the fact that it's stackable trays. So I'm going to tell you the advantages of it first, and then I'll tell you about the few things that made me move towards the Excalibur. So this one, as you can see, this one has 6 trays. I have additional trays at home. It has a max of 20 trays that you can fit on this. So when I say large scale dehydration, you can do a lot with that. It has, these trays have big holes. So if you want to dehydrate anything that's small in size, you want to make sure that you have the mesh. It does come with 4 mesh. I got 4 mesh with this dehydrator. Over the years, I've added more. And it also comes with 2 fruit roll-up trays. And if you have not made fruit roll-ups, that's an excellent candy to make, especially if you have children. Fruit roll-ups are amazing. You don't have to worry about the excess sugar. No high fructose. If you have extra smoothie, I would just pour it on here and let it dehydrate, roll it up, stick it in a jar, and they'll go in and enjoy when they're ready. It's thinner. The body is thinner than the cabinet variety, so I can easily stack it away in a pantry. With these trays, they are dishwasher safe. However, they have to be removed prior to drying, okay? Because the material is not as hard of a plastic. With the fruit roll-up trays, a disadvantage I find is that they warp over time. Being exposed to so much heat, they do warp, so I have to replace those. If you don't want to get these trays, a good alternative is to use parchment papers. Parchment papers work just as well. You would simply have to lay it out over your dehydrator. You can use tape to tape it together, or you can buy silicone trays. They do have silicone trays available if you want to use to make fruit roll-ups. Another disadvantage of this machine is that it has a top fan. The heating element is at the top, and what this does is the heat goes from the top, it flows down all through the machine, and it circulates. The trays have holes all around the base and all around the entire machine. So it allows the air to go up and down, circulating through. And even the mesh trays that it includes has holes, so that you do have that 360 capture of heat around your food. It does really well. However, because it's a top fan, I find that I have to rotate it. Okay, so if I'm dehydrating onions on top and apples, oranges, whatever underneath, of course the onions are thinner, the less water, so they're gonna dehydrate faster. So during the process of dehydrating, I will have to remove my onions, put it aside, and allow everything else to dehydrate. So it's not uniform. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but you have to keep an eye on it. Rotate your trays if you want even distribution of heat. You do have some varieties that have the heating element underneath, and that's another disadvantage, because if you think of dehydrating strawberries, they're high in water content. Dehydrating melons, high water content food as well. So you'll find that that liquid will run down your dehydrator and it will get stuck in the heating element. If you're dehydrating small carrots, garlic, it will fall in and it's not easy to clean. One easy solution to that though is you would put your fruit roll-up tray or your mesh at the very bottom of your dehydrator so that it captures any liquid, any food debris that's falling down, and it makes the cleanup a lot easier. Okay, so that's it for the Nesco. Again, I've been using this for a long time, and I think I have about this much trays, and so when I stack it, it's really stacked, it really works, and it's fairly inexpensive. I believe the Nesco, when I bought it, I paid like $60 for it. Now the Excalibur, it's a different price, but if you're on a budget, you do want to get dehydrating, but you're not able to buy a cabinet style machine, you will find that the stackables are less expensive, okay? They work. It may just take a little bit longer during the drying process, but it's very effective. It's cost effective and it works. I also want to plug in that the Nesco is not a digital machine, it's a manual, so it has the temperature setting. You'll just choose the temperature that you want to dehydrate, and within about 10 minutes, it will come up to the temperature needed. So you do want to check on the process. You may be able to see that my trays have lost their color over time, and that's because of the plastic that it is. It's not ideal, okay? It does come with a cookbook if you want to use it. I've used it to make tofu jerky. It does come with a jerky maker, because this machine is a food dehydrator and jerky maker. So it comes with a jerky gun, jerky seasoning. You can throw the seasoning. You can make your own tofu jerky, and it's really, really a really good machine. The next one I want to talk about is the one we've just adopted, the Excalibur. I've wanted an Excalibur forever. Couldn't afford it, but thank God I was finally able to, and I like it. This is what's considered the cabinet variety. Yes, the Nesco is a stackable, because you can go up in however many trays, which is pro for this type of machine. The Excalibur, this one, you can get 6 trays all the way up to 10 trays. My machine is a 9-tray machine, and it's a much harder plastic than the Nesco. If you look at the trays are a lot larger, so you can do a lot more in terms of dehydrating. The base tray, you'll see the holes are a lot bigger than the Nesco, but fortunately, these do come with the mesh screen to protect all your food from going through. It does not come with the fruit roll-up tray. They do sell the sheets separate, so if that's something you're interested in, you can always buy the sheet of the Excalibur, plug that in, and do the fruit roll-ups, or you can use parchment paper. It is a little loud. For me, the Excalibur is a little loud in terms of the fan. It's a little higher than the Nesco. But the drying time is a lot shorter because it has a horizontal fan. Everything, the heat circulates evenly throughout the machine. Okay, it dries faster, the food tastes better coming through it, and it has that hyperwave technology that prevents it from going too high, the heat from going too high, so that it maintains the enzymes within your food. When you're dehydrating, yeah, you may say, okay, well, I have so much time and I have to get it done, so I'm going to bump up the temperature. That should not be done. All your machine, whether the Omri, the Instant Omni, the Nesco, Presto, Excalibur, even the Casori, they all have a temperature guide. It shows on here what temperature is needed to preserve fruits, vegetables, herbs. You have to follow that temperature. If you go higher than the assigned temperature just because you don't have time, you're going to lose all the nutrients in that food. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? So you have to follow the temperature guide outline. And I dehydrate at night. So about 9 o'clock, I will set my dehydrator. I know everything I have in there will take about 8 to 10 hours to dehydrate. I don't have to check on it. It runs in the mornings. I'll go take my items out, put them in a mason jar or the Ziploc bags, and then I'll put them in the shelf, okay? And so the hyperwave technology ensures that your enzymes are being stored in the food. They don't lose any nutrition, and it does not have, because of the fan is blowing horizontally, you don't have any liquid draining from your food. Yes, your carrots may get shriveled and fall through onto your next tray, but you don't have any juice draining down your tray. All right, and being that it's so big, 9 trays is plenty of space for home dehydrating purpose. All right, it's a little bulky because it's a cabinet variety. You can see that it's a lot bigger than the Nesco, so that's something you have to consider too. If you have a lot of space in your kitchen, yeah, this would be an excellent machine. But if you don't have enough space, then consider a smaller variety. The smaller varieties, they do the same thing. You know, it takes up less space and you can preserve less item at a time. All right, so that's it for the Excalibur. Right now it's loaded, but we'll get to that. All right. Now, why would I need a dehydrator? Okay, well, I have everything in Mylar bags, or I may have some items preserved in my mason jar, ready for an emergency. Why do I need to dehydrate? I tell you, the first time I got my Nesco, I took almost everything out of my freezer, dehydrated them, and I put them on a shelf. And I thought that was the best thing ever. I opened up so much space. It's easy to grab something from the pantry that's dehydrated. Your carrots already cut up, your onions already cut up, you just use it in your food. Dehydration saves space while preserving the nutrients, the enzymes in your food. If you have 20 pounds of apples, it's a lot more to find space to store 20 pounds of apples, even in your refrigerator. Yeah, you have apples that can store for a year. But if you're a regular home person just going to the store picking up apples every week or every 2 weeks, dehydrated apples reduce that 20 pounds to about 2.5 pounds of apples. So it stores better, and you use less space. If you have plums, 20 pounds of plum, and you dehydrate them, if you think about the shelf life of plum on in your home, you're talking about 3 to 5 days. But if you were to put those in your dehydrator, remove all the moisture, you can have 6 months shelf life for those plums. And I just say that because if you think about end of year sale. Right now, fruit trees season, where you have so many different varieties of fruits, you may be able to find a good deal on a lot of fruits. Instead of buying those, bringing them to your home, waiting for them to get soggy, messy, and then get thrown out, simply put them in your dehydrator. Take them out at a later date. You can mince them, put them in smoothies. You can rehydrate them with granola, put them in oatmeal, what have you. I mean, the possibilities are endless with dehydrated food. All right. In some cases, your vegetables, the nutritional content may be decreased, but there is a solution to that. Blanching. Familiar with blanching? Simply stick them in some hot water for a little bit, and then you transfer them to ice to shock them, allow the nutrients to remain in place. An easy solution for that is to get things that are already frozen, right? So you go to Costco and you go to Sam's or you go to Sprouts and you find big bags of frozen veggies on sale. They're already chopped, they're already blanched, the prep work is done. You buy those home, well, my freezer is packed. My husband's gonna be like, sure, we're gonna put those. Well, I'll put them in the dehydrator. I have tons of mason jars. That's one thing I stockpile, mason jars, waiting to be used. I'll get all those veggies, put them in my dehydrator. That's all you need. You take the bag home, open it. You don't need to cut. You don't need to blanch, nothing. Put them in your dehydrator, and then once it's all dry, crisp to the touch, you put them in your mason jar, and the work is done. You don't even have to do anything. Your only job is to load the dehydrator and unload. Yeah, I mean, if you have apples or bananas, you do have to chop them. But that's why I like frozen veggies. This was a 2-pound bag of peas and carrots, right? And it's not even full for the pint jar. I have a lot of space in here. I have 4 tomatoes in this mason jar. So much that can fit in small space. So it conserves space, it saves time in terms of prep work, everything is done for you and is readily available, okay? You can just grab something from your shelf, put it in your backpack if you're going hiking. The only thing you will need is water, hot water, and a container to rehydrate them. And for people who like to eat raw, dehydrated items is an excellent way to add nourishment to your raw food diet. Okay, so that's another thing to consider. So we're going to go over a little more details finally in terms of what to look for when you're getting your dehydrator. Now I'm going to talk about a few things that you want to consider when you're getting a dehydrator so that you can make a good decision on the product you decide to purchase for your home use. First thing I'm going to talk about is the style. I already mentioned a few things about the different styles, but just to reiterate, there are 2 styles of dehydrator on the market. You have your vertical airflow and your horizontal airflow. Vertical airflow machines either have the heating elements at the top or at the bottom. These are usually stackable. I love the stackable varieties because you can add so much to it. With the horizontal airflow, these are going to be your cabinet style varieties. Whatever amount of tray you get, that's it. You can't add anything else to it. But the good thing about these is you don't have to worry about your food profile being mixed in your dehydrator. So if I'm dehydrating bananas, I don't have to worry about everything smelling like bananas. Or if I'm doing onions, I don't have to worry about everything smelling like onions because the heat is evenly distributed. The juice is not dripping down. So everything works better with this dehydrator being that is horizontal. Vertical models tend to be a little bit harder to clean, especially if the heating element is at the bottom. It does get exposure to liquid drips and food debris, but again, that can be solved if you're using the mesh or the fruit roll-up sheet. Now let's talk about capacity. The capacity of your dehydrator is just how much food can you dehydrate with. If you like to dehydrate in bulk, say you have a family of 10, a small dehydrator won't work for you. Even a 4-tray dehydrator will work. So you may want to think of increasing your capacity size. With the vertical varieties, you can add up to 20 trays. With the cabinet styles, you're limited in the amount of trays. Even though 9 trays is a lot because it's a larger machine, the trays are larger than the vertical, but still you're limited in terms of how much food you can put in here. It is not a fast process. Okay, so the bigger machine will save you money. but again, it's going to take up a lot of space. So consider whatever space you have in your house. If you don't have a garage, your kitchen is really small, you may want to consider a smaller unit and just keep that machine working. Okay, so just know that if you were to overstack your machine, if you want to put 20 pounds of food in this dehydrator, it is going to take a lot longer to finish dehydrating, okay? So don't try to overpack your dehydrator, all right? It's best to do multiple batches, have the food evenly stored than overpacking them, all right? So temperature-wise, and for the machine, every food dries at a different temperature, okay? So you want to consider that, yes, you have a setting for herbs, living food, bread, yogurt, veggies, fruits, jerkies. Everything dries at a different temperature. So you want to think about that as you're loading your machine. They all have different temperature requirements. This one goes to 95 as the lowest setting. That's why I gravitate towards this machine for herbs. And this one, the lowest setting is 105. It says herbs at 105, but in my opinion, that's too warm for herbs. So I prefer the Nesco dehydrating herbs. And you have items that you can go up to 100 degrees, 165 degrees if you're making jerky. So those are two things that you want to consider when you're choosing your machine. What do you want to, what are you going to do with it? Okay, if you are on a time constraint, a digital machine may be better because it does have that auto shut-off capability. But if you don't, then just think about the fact that, hey, you may have to get up in the middle of the night to make sure my onions are crisp enough or something is not burnt. Okay, and then finally, let's talk about the number of trays. We've been going at this over and over and over, but stacked trays does not dry evenly, okay? That means packed trays if you put too much food on it. You want to increase your tray amount if you have a lot of food, but then you want to rotate them, especially if you have the vertical variety, rotate to make sure that that heat is evenly being distributed throughout your trays. Now, these are the Nesco. I've had to replace several of these trays in the past. The material is very thin. It's really, really flimsy, so you have to be careful with it. It is BPA free, but it is a thinner plastic, so it does break easily. And the Excalibur is a stronger plastic, but the Casori is a stainless steel. I mean, you have to really try hard to break that one. All right, so that's something to consider with the trays. The stainless steel models, they tend to be more expensive because they have a harder plastic. You'll find your dehydrators will run from about $65, $70 all the way up to $400 if you're getting a stainless steel variety. So it's all up to you. It's all up to your budget. What can you fit in? Again, space-wise, the cabinet varieties are more bulkier and the stackables are easier to store. So that's it. The accessories it comes with. They will all come with a book. You may get one or two fruit roll-up trays, in this case none, and then you will have that mesh sheeting. If you need more, Amazon is a good place to find whatever you need for the model that you have. All right, so I hope you were able to get some good information from this video for you to be able to make a good guess on what type of machine you need to get. I really can't tell you which one you should get. Do some research, consider the pros and the cons of all of them, even where you live. I personally intend to do a sun oven, okay, because I just love drying in the sun. So if you don't have the ability, if you're not in the States, you're not able to put your hands on one of these machines, just think about ways that you can use nature, the sun, as a means of preserving your food. And again, I will be sharing more videos with you on different ways to dehydrate different food. And I appreciate you watching. I hope this was informative for you and that you will get your dehydrator so we can be on this journey together. Thank you so much for watching and happy dehydrating. Take care. Oh wait, don't forget to like, to share, subscribe, and comment in the section below so that I can hear your feedback. Bye.